Alright, there is a new meta for Phobetor. Ikki is now meta alongside Drew. I got this ridiculous 355 million within just 200 Nexus crystals. Let me explain the team real quick. You're now going to be running Ikki instead of a sleep debuffer because Ikki provides disease debuff, and you'll also be running your Sloan on the Avatara set because now Phobetor will take turns. Liam will also be on the Avatara set. If you can put your Chuyao on Avatara set, that is also very good, but I prioritize speed more than the Avatara set on him. And then Drew is going to be on Relief set, Light set. He does not need the Avatara nor his Divinate because he's going to get one shot. Now if you've noticed, I don't have any cooldown reduction for this team, which means my Sloan's Eidetic buff is not 100% uptime, right? If you don't have 100% uptime on Eidetic buff, your score will tank by a lot. But if you read this part of her S3 passive, each Fallen Esper reduces Grave Tidings cooldown by 1 turn. Because you have Meta Drew constantly dying, her S3 pretty much has no cooldown, or rather she will always have 100% uptime on the addictive buff. This part of her S3 passive does not care whether it's enemies or your allies, so you no longer need to run R2 Uran for the cooldown reduction. Let me show you a few runs. This team is crazy consistent. It's scoring between 50 to 66 million, as you can see right here. And there we go. Let me just do like maybe 5 to 10 blitz just to show you how consistent it is. So far it's not going lower than 55 million. There we go. Yeah, the old team you can score between like 40 to 55 million, or my old team was scoring 40 to 55 million. If you have an R2 Shen Pin, you can get higher than that, but it's not consistent, right, with R2 Shen Pin. The reason why I'm getting like 40 million runs is because I'm failing to land the disease debuff. So it's important to have high accuracy on your Ikki, but also it's important for him to have some tankiness. If you have a D6 R2 Ikki, you can afford to run like crit damage attack. But if your Ikki is R0 or R1, you want him to be on crit damage, attack HP, or crit damage HP, and also having high accuracy as well. The reason why you want him to be tanky is because you don't want him to die at all. If he dies, he will no longer apply disease debuff on the boss, and that can tank your score by a lot. It's going to be super inconsistent when he dies. So the most important thing is to keep your Ikki alive. If you have an R2 Ikki, it's going to be a lot better because now your Ikki can also do damage, and it's also easier for him to stack up the passive because whenever he S1, he adds 1 stack of Waxing Moon to himself. So yeah, this team is crazy consistent. I'm going to do a few more runs with crystals to see if I can break my high score. Again, I spent like 200 crystals to get that 355 million score. Before that, I also got like 353 million score within those 200 crystals. Now, if you can get R2 or R4 Drew, this will be a lot better because R2 can give you more damage on your DPS by giving you more Burden of Duat stacks, and R4 can help him stack up the damage up effects faster, right? R6 is going to be absolutely crazy though because you have 100 turns in Phobetor, and this team does take a lot of turns between Liam and Chuyao because they can get a bunch of extra turns with their S3, and also Chuyao being on Astral set, that also helps with the turn count as well. With an R6 meta Drew, you can probably get upwards of like 90 million on that single team, maybe even higher. I think 100 million might be possible with an R6 meta Drew. Oh, look at this, 321 million, and that's within like 100 crystals. 50 million on the Sloan team, about 54 million. Oh my goodness, look at this. So close to beating the high score again, just 500,000 less. And the Sloan team did about 55 million once again. I'm just gonna briefly show you the team 1. So basically, turn 1, Phobetor will always get the Golden Rim buff. So you need to survive Phobetor's attacks for 2 turns. Ikki cannot land the disease debuff if the enemy isn't moving. So that's why the first turn, Phobetor will always get the Golden Rim buff. And boom, he's gonna one-shot my Meta Drew and he gets the Golden Rim buff. And then at this point on, you need to rely on your Ikki to land the disease debuff every single time. That's why it's really important for you to have accuracy on your Ikki. You don't really want to rely on the Burden of Duat stacks to increase your Ikki's accuracy because it's not really consistent. You need to take damage before you can get the accuracy stacks from Burden of Duat. And you can only get the Burden of Duat stacks when your Meta Drew is alive. So at this point, in the perfect scenario, Phobetor will always have the disease debuff on him. Okay, so my Sloane has 2 turns cooldown on her S3. Alright, Meta Drew is alive once again, but once Phobetor kills him off, my Sloane will reduce her S3 cooldown by 1 turn because of this part of her S3 passive. And Phobetor has 2 AoEs, so it's easier for your Meta Drew to die. He only has 1 single target, which is his S1. Boom. Meta Drew dies, and as you can see, my Sloane has 1 turn less on her S3. So you pretty much have 100% uptime on the Eidetic buff without running a cooldown reduction unit. So this is the reason why you want your Ikki to be tanky. He will always have defense down on him because you want him to be slow. And with defense down, if you don't have enough tankiness, he can get one shot even without Phobetor getting the golden rim buff. So make sure he survives all the way through, otherwise you're gonna tank your score. So yeah, once again, these are the relics. Sloane will now be on the Avatara set because Phobetor will be moving. Ikki is on the relief set and Avatara. If you have R2 Ikki, that's even better. Get his accuracy to 80% if possible, and also make him tanky, just to make sure that he doesn't die. And then Chuyao will be on the Astral set, Avatara if possible, but don't sacrifice too much speed on him if you have to put him on Avatara. Liam will be on Harmony set and Avatara. Drew will be on Relief set and Light set to AP boost your team by 10%. You don't need to run him on the Avatara because he's gonna die. Fushi. Hayley is going to be on Relief set, Avatara. The reason why you want Hayley to be on the Relief set is to make sure that you can get 2 turns of her debuff for your Elif's team. Because if you don't have an R6 Hayley, you will sometimes get runs where you only have 1 turn of Hayley's debuff and it doesn't last throughout the fight for Team 3. So giving her the Relief set will make it more consistent to transfer her debuff to your Team 3. Alright, we can run the Suicide Squad in PvE now. The score is pretty decent, but the reality of it is this team is super inconsistent and it's not even close to what the current team is at right now for Sloane teams. Let me just show you how much RNG it takes for me to hit a good score with the Sloane team running the Suicide Squad. Yeah, there's a lot of RNG when you want to run the Meta Drew and Tolan. The score is so inconsistent and you need to do multiple runs for you to get a decent score. It can go down to as low as like 15 million, but there is a big reason as to why Meta Drew is not working in Dark Starlord as he is in Sonica. Yeah, look at this, 13 million. This will never happen if you were to run the R6 Sakura variant. Let me just show you a few runs that you would get from running Sakura instead of Meta Drew. It's a lot more consistent and the cap is also higher. You can get upwards of like 90 million to 100 million with the Sakura team. Whereas if you were to run Meta Drew, you will cap out at roughly 65 to 70 million. Yeah, there we go, another 82 million. But if you don't have an R6 Sakura, the Meta Drew variant is still pretty decent. It's not better than Xuanpin. Xuanpin plus Tolan is still better. But if you don't have R6 Sakura and Xuanpin, then you can run the Meta Drew variant. So let me just show you why Suicide Meta Drew is not working too well in Dark Starlord as opposed to Sonica. Now you would think Meta Drew will die pretty easily in Dark Starlord because you have these 2 ads that can do AoE, right? That's not really the case because they do absolutely no damage. Even level 1 Drew can survive both of their hits and it's not even half of his health. So the only way that you can make Meta Drew die consistently is by Dark Starlord attacking you. So that's one of the reasons why he does not work in Dark Starlord that well. The other reason is that Dark Starlord only has 1 AoE skill, which is his S3. The S1 is not an AoE skill. He only attacks 2 enemies, so there's a bit of RNG right there. And his S2 is only single target. The other problem is Dark Starlord has only 75 turns. So it's harder for you to stack up the damage up effect on Meta Drew to revive him. You need to take 40 turns in order for you to stack up 50% of the damage reduction, but you only have 75 turns, right? Another problem is that Dark Starlord is the slowest of all the other bosses. Phobetor is the fastest, Sonica is second fastest, and Dark Starlord is the third fastest. Now that matters because when you run a Meta Drew comp, you want him to die as often as possible, which means the enemy's speed also matters. If the enemy is not taking enough turns, your Meta Drew is not dying often enough, which means you cannot stack up the damage up effect fast enough. So right there, Dark Starlord did a single target hit but it didn't go to Drew. So my Drew managed to survive a whole Dark Starlord turn. Yeah, so far he's not that good in Dark Starlord. But again, if you don't have R6 Sakura and also Shen Pin, you can use this variant of team. I've tried running him with R6 Sakura. This is even worse than running Tolan. Maximum you can get like 60 million with this team. I've even tried to run him tanky with the relief set and also at level 58 as well by using the Divine Synthesis pot. It also didn't work. It got lower score because he's not dying enough. And again, if you make him fast, he does not add anything to the team except for his S1 that does minuscule buff. So the best way to run him is again by making him with 0 speed so that your supports can take more damage and do more damage with Sloan. So yeah, that's about it for Meta Drew. So far he's only good in Phobetor Fantasy but not in Dark Starlord. I don't see him being used in any other PvE content because he does need to ramp up in order to benefit the team. I think he probably won't work in Shadow Gale as well because Elif, the best DPS for that mode, cannot get his Burden of Duat stacks because of the amount of shields she has, right? Shadow Glow, he might work, but I think it's gonna be a crazy amount of RNG. So yeah, that's about it. Ciao.